The Senate just blocked both Republican and Democratic bills to keep the government open. The money runs out on September 30th. Millions of federal workers are bracing for missed paychecks. Critical services, from airport security to food assistance, are hours away from freezing. And instead of solutions, we're watching a blame game spiral into dangerous new territory. So how did we get here? Let's rewind. Friday afternoon, the Senate floor turned into a battlefield. Democrats pushed their stopgap bill, Republicans countered with their own. Both failed. Not one proposal had the votes to keep the government open. And here's the kicker. Both sides knew the bills would fail. This wasn't about solving the crisis. It was about pinning the blame. President Trump then canceled a scheduled meeting with Democratic leaders, calling it a waste of time. That move alone sent shockwaves. Why? Because Trump holds the veto pen, and without him, nothing moves forward. Meanwhile, polls are clear. Americans are tired of shutdown politics. Pew Research last month showed 65% of voters view government shutdowns as manufactured crises that hurt ordinary people more than politicians. Compare that with history. The 2018 through 2019 shutdown, the longest in U.S. history, lasted 35 days. An estimated $11 billion evaporated from the economy, according to the Congressional Budget Office. Airport agents walked off their posts. National parks closed. Families skipped paychecks. That's the president looming in everyone's mind now.
But this time, the fight feels different because the rhetoric has crossed into uncharted waters. A bloc of hardline Republicans is demanding not just spending cuts, but direct punishment for Democrats they accuse of selling out America. One senator floated the idea of expelling Ilhan Omar from Congress. Others went further, hinting at deportation despite her U.S. citizenship. That's not standard partisan sniping. That's open warfare. Democrats, for their part, are firing back. Chuck Schumer warned on the floor, "This is reckless brinksmanship that weaponizes people's livelihoods." Progressive Democrats accused Republicans of holding workers hostage to score political points. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez tweeted, "They'd rather tank the economy than pass a clean bill." And then came Trump. Standing outside the White House, he doubled down, "If Democrats want to play games, the government shuts down." Simple as that. Reporters pressed him on the risk to federal workers. His answer? They'll get their money later. Here's the problem with that logic. In 2019, later meant weeks of unpaid bills, foreclosures, even evictions for lower-income federal workers. The damage wasn't temporary, it lingered for months. The media frenzy is an overdrive. Fox News calls it Democrats refusing to secure the border. MSNBC frames it as Republicans taking Americans hostage. CNN's Chiron reads, "Shutdown looms as Senate deadlocks." The outrage machine is humming, and ordinary Americans, they're the ones caught in the gears.
So, let's break down what happens if this gridlock doesn't crack. Federal paychecks stop. Nearly 2 million civilian employees won't get paid on time. 1.3 million active-duty military personnel. Same story. Essential services keep running, but without pay. Air travel? Expect chaos. In the last shutdown, sick calls among unpaid TSA officers skyrocketed, delaying flights across the country. Food assistance programs like WIC could run out of funds within days. Small Business Administration loans freeze. National parks lock their gates. And the political fallout, it's nuclear. Republicans argue Democrats are refusing to negotiate on border security. Democrats say Republicans are pushing poison pill cuts that slash healthcare and education. The blame game is already framing the 2026 midterms. Here's where it gets darker. Behind closed doors, investigators are reportedly reviewing inflammatory remarks from lawmakers, including calls to deport Omar. Multiple outlets confirm security agencies are assessing whether those statements could spark real-world threats.
Think about that. A shutdown crisis mixed with threats against elected officials. The tinderbox is getting drier by the hour. This isn't just theater anymore. In fact, some Republicans are privately warning leadership that pushing this rhetoric too far could backfire hard. We impeached Trump twice for far less, one Democratic strategist said. If they want to make Ilhan Omar the target, we'll make this a referendum on extremism. But here's the twist. Trump isn't backing down. He sees the fight as leverage, and leverage is how he's always played politics. Shutdowns, veto threats, walkouts, they're not accidents, they're tools.
But here's the part nobody's talking about. What happens if this actually goes forward? If the Senate keeps blocking bills, if Trump keeps canceling talks, and if lawmakers keep threatening each other on national television, where does that leave the country? Because the real storm isn't just on the Senate floor. It's what happens when paychecks stop, when food stamps dry up, when air travel grinds to a halt, and when the political knives come out in ways America hasn't seen in decades. So let's step back. What does it actually mean if this goes forward? Because this isn't just a short-term funding squabble. It's a test of whether divided government can still function at all. First, the precedent. Every shutdown leaves scars. In 1995, Bill Clinton faced off with Newt Gingrich. The shutdown lasted 21 days. Clinton's approval ratings soared afterward because Americans blamed Republicans for playing games. In 2013, Republicans shut down the government over Obamacare. The economy took a $24 billion hit, according to Standard & Poor's, and GOP leaders privately admitted it was a disaster. Then came 2019. 35 days, $11 billion gone, and trust in Washington sinking even lower. Now, Trump is openly framing shutdowns as leverage. Democrats call it hostage-taking. But here's the catch. Both sides believe they can win the narrative. For Trump, this is about showing strength, punishing Democrats, and rallying his base. For Democrats, it's about painting Republicans as reckless extremists willing to wreck the country for political points. And here's the kicker. This battle isn't just about money. It's about identity. When lawmakers threaten deportation of a sitting congresswoman like Ilhan Omar, they're signaling to their voters that this is more than policy. It's war. That kind of rhetoric isn't just dangerous, it's destabilizing. It tells ordinary Americans that compromise is dead. Let's talk constitutional gray areas. Can a citizen like Omar be deported? No, but the fact that senators are floating it shows how far political theater has stretched. It's not about legality, it's about sending a message, the same way Trump's veto threats weren't always about policy, but about dominance. And this is where history offers warnings. Think McCarthy hearings in the 1950s. Wild accusations destroyed careers, created fear, and paralyzed Congress. Or Nixon in the 1970s, when executive defiance sparked a constitutional crisis that ended in resignation. More recently, Trump's own impeachments, one for abuse of power, one for incitement of insurrection, both symbolic, both divisive, both leaving the country fractured. That's the stage we're on now. A government shutdown, combined with rhetoric about expelling or deporting members of Congress, is more than dysfunction. It's a crack in democratic norms. And cracks spread fast. So what happens next? Let's game it out. Scenario 1, short-term deal. At the last minute, leadership forces through a clean CR, a continuing resolution with no riders. The government stays open. But Trump rails against it, calling Republicans weak. Democrats declare victory. Result? The crisis ends, but the feud deepens, and the stage is set for even bloodier battles in the next budget fight.
Scenario 2, full shutdown. The government runs out of money. Workers miss paychecks. Air travel chaos begins. Federal aid freezes. Polls shift as the public assigns blame. If history holds, the party seen as more extreme gets punished. Republicans risk being labeled hostage takers, but Democrats risk being seen as unwilling to compromise. Either way, ordinary Americans pay the price. Scenario 3, escalation beyond shutdown. This is the darkest one. The rhetoric doesn't stop. Hearings are launched into Omar. Censure resolutions are filed. Investigations spin up. Trump seizes the chaos to claim Democrats are corrupt and dangerous. Democrats retaliate by dredging up Trump's past impeachments, even hinting at new inquiries. The fight consumes Washington, while the government limps along. The damage to institutions? Lasting, maybe irreversible. And don't underestimate the global angle. When America shuts down, the world notices. In 2019, S&P Global downgraded growth forecasts for the entire global economy because of our shutdown. Allies question U.S. reliability. Rivals like China call it proof of decline. If this crisis drags out, expect foreign headlines blasting America's dysfunctional democracy. Meanwhile, Wall Street is watching. Goldman Sachs estimates a shutdown shaves off 0.2 percentage points off GDP growth for every week it lasts. Markets don't like uncertainty, and right now, Washington is serving it by the truckload. So where does that leave us? With a government on the edge of shutdown, lawmakers hurling threats at each other, and a president using the chaos as political leverage. Ordinary Americans are the collateral damage. Workers, families, travelers, small businesses, they're the ones who pay first.
And here's the haunting question. If Congress can't even keep the lights on, what happens when the next real crisis hits? A financial meltdown? A terror threat, a natural disaster. Can a government this divided even function? That's why this fight matters. It's not just about Ilhan Omar, not just about Trump, not just about the Senate. It's about whether America still knows how to govern itself. So I'll leave you with this. Do you think Omar will actually face censure or worse? Or is this just theater to mask the deeper dysfunction? And more urgently, who do you think pays the biggest price when Washington goes dark? Like, share, subscribe. Because this story isn't ending tonight. It's only beginning.